Split Fiction, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, Elden Ring, Night Rain, Blueprints, Mario Kart World, and then of course, Donkey Kong Bonanza. What do all of these games have in common? Well, I'm glad you asked, as when it comes to the reviews for these specific games I just mentioned, they're 9s and 10s across the board. As of course, I think this game being compared to Super Mario Odyssey is very interesting because of course, Nintendo EPD is the same developers behind Super Mario Odyssey, but that does not mean that the level of quality will be the same or even similar. But safe to say, when it comes to the review roundups that we're about to get into, they are indeed the same, if not better, because people are saying this may be the best game that Nintendo has put out in quite some time.
Shepard, just look at the state of gaming. Like, what is going on?
Sometimes I think to myself that same thing, because what is going on when Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out of nowhere? Because everybody was kind of thinking like Expedition 33 definitely has Game of the Year wrapped up. I mean, for me personally, my favorite game of the year is Split Fiction, which, you know, shameless plug, my entire gameplay walkthrough is out on Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify. But as far as that gameplay walkthrough of Split Fiction and me playing with my cousin, I think that added to me having Split Fiction and putting it on that pedestal as far as my favorite game of the year. But when it comes to that, I do want to talk about how Donkey Kong Bonanza being compared to Super Mario Odyssey is very interesting from a sales perspective, because of course over here at Notorious Mass Effect, we try to get into things that notoriously impact the masses and affect the masses, you know, pun intended. So I wanted to talk about sales for a little bit because of course, if what people are saying is true and is one of the better games that Nintendo has ever put out, well, now we got to look at it from a sales perspective. As with Super Mario Odyssey, the sales are already solidified. We already know how successful it was. For Donkey Kong Bonanza, it literally just came out. Literally just came out. So with that being said, let's try to look over the Super Mario Odyssey sales and try to compare on what we could see from Donkey Kong Bonanza in the foreseeable future. As of March 31st, 2025, Super Mario Odyssey sold around 29.28 million units worldwide, making it the 5th best-selling Nintendo Switch title overall, which is a huge accomplishment, of course. But then you go on to realize that Animal Crossing, Super Smash Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and then Mario Kart 8 are all above it in lifetime sales, and you realize Donkey Kong is nowhere in that list. So are we saying that Donkey Kong is making a return in Donkey Kong Bonanza? Are we saying that this may be the definitive game for how people look at the character of Donkey Kong going forward? Because of course, I'm not saying Donkey Kong is a niche character by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, y'all saw the Mario movie just like me. I enjoyed it. For other people, I mean, they might not have, but ultimately, I think a lot of people enjoyed the movie. Donkey Kong was in that. So when it comes to that style and him having his own game, and then now you look at the sales as Mario and Zelda with a little Animal Crossing thrown in there, is ultimately the top selling IPs for Nintendo. If somehow Nintendo EPD found a way to make Donkey Kong an A1, like an A-lister as far as sales wise, because of course there's a character, we already know who Donkey Kong is, but as far as sales specifically in the past 4 to 5 years, as this is the first 3D Donkey Kong adventure in 25 years. So somebody was looking at the bottom line and saying to themselves, you know what? Let's hold off on that Donkey Kong game. 5 years passed. You know what? Let's hold off on that Donkey Kong game. Let's put out the next Mario Kart installment. Let's put out the next installment of Mario in space. Let's put out the next installment of Mario playing tennis. Like ultimately Donkey Kong, I'm not gonna say he was getting disrespected, because Mario saved gaming, so he deserves all the preferential treatment that he gets. But Donkey Kong being put out for 25 years since the DK Adventure game, as far as Donkey Kong 64, 25 years is a long time. I don't think anybody's gonna, try to dispute that fact. So 25 years since a 3D adventure from Donkey Kong, and now that it's came back, it's shaping up to be not only one of the better games in Nintendo history, but of all time. I think looking at the sales of Mario Odyssey, Donkey Kong Bonanza could end up becoming one of the better selling games that Nintendo has ever put out. It may be up there with the Animal Crossing of the world, the Mario Kart Ace of the world. So you kind of understand where I'm going with that when it comes from a sales perspective. So because Donkey Kong just came out, we can't really talk about the sales right now. A lot of people is seeing the hype is through the roof as far as everybody waiting to play the game. So I think it's going to sell well, but obviously only time will tell. So getting into the overall game, for people who are not as familiar, just know that this latest installment of the Donkey Kong adventure is a 3D sandbox platforming with near total destructible environments, meaning that you could destroy everything. As you can see right now, Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio. Apparently, everything in the game can be destroyed. Reminds me, I know this may be a throwback to some people, but it reminds me of, I think it was Crackdown 2 or 3. It was whenever the zombies came in. Whenever you got to certain areas, you could like destroy certain areas like completely. Apparently with Donkey Kong, that's like entirely the game. That's the whole premise, to showcase how strong Donkey Kong actually is. And then when it comes to the transformations, there's 3 transformations as far as animal themed powers. There's the gliding. I think you're seeing that right now. The rapid dash, which is the zebra. The terrain destruction, which is giant DK. And then your currency in the game is called Banandium. What in the world? Banandium gems. Banana diem. Yo, what is this? I ain't gonna lie, I'm keeping that in there too. I don't know how to pronounce that. Banana diem gems. Those are the collectible currency for the skill trees and ability upgrades. And then, of course, you have transversal tools like surfboards, flying mounts, mine carts with rainbow smoke. And then it does support co-op as far as ranged vocal attacks. That's co-op with Pauline, or Broadway style buffs as far as solo. So you can drop in, drop out co-op using Switch 2's Joy-Con enhancements. And then ultimately, when it comes to the design and side content, a lot of people are probably going to be wondering, how long is the game? How much of my life am I going to put into this game to complete it fully? Well, for completionists out there, just know it's going to run you about 30 to 40 hours to beat the game completely, as far as completing everything and the side content. As far as the main story, it could be a little under 20 hours if you just run through the main story. So ultimately, I'm not going to say it's a short game by any stretch of the imagination, because if you can get 40 plus hours out of a game, including all of the side content, that's definitely enough as far as the dollar amount. When it comes to the main story, if you can run through the game in under 20 hours, safe to say either you're a speed runner or you're just not trying to take in the environment, because apparently the environment is one of the biggest charming things about the game, especially the attention to detail. A lot of people didn't bring this game up. I don't know if that's on purpose. I wouldn't be surprised with Nintendo, when they sent out like press copies of the game, if they would have said to the reviewers, hey, if y'all bring up Astrobot, we're gonna take your we're gonna take your tongue, we're gonna cut it out your mouth, and we're just gonna keep it in a jar. So ultimately, I think when it comes to reviewers, I wouldn't be surprised if they had don't talk about, don't bring up, don't mention Astrobot, or we're gonna find you. Because if you don't know, when it comes to Astrobot, it's a lot of ex-Nintendo developers that made that game. And we already know how tremendous that game turned out. I think that's still one of the better games of last year, because it came out last year, right? Let me see. Astrobot release date. Yeah, so Astrobot came out September 6, 2024. Now, of course, you probably won't hear Astrobot being brought up in a lot of these conversations, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like Nintendo really hates Astrobot. Because if there's ex-Nintendo developers and they actually made a quality platformer over at PlayStation that's exclusively for PlayStation titled Astrobot, like, you know how much confidence you have to have in the game to make it your overall mascot, and to give it not 1 but 2 games. Like, don't forget, when PS4 came out, they've been hinting at Astrobot in this world. And then when Astrobot actually came out, as far as last year, people realized how great of a game it actually was. Now, when it comes to this game, I think ultimately Donkey Kong may showcase why you can maybe emulate at certain factors as far as mechanics, but Nintendo is the cream of the crop when it comes to platforming and putting out an infectious game and a very enjoyable game, and ultimately unique because they've set the boundary, they've set the bar for how we look at platformers, especially with Mario. You already know my praise for Mario, so I don't have to go over that time and time again. But the way that Mario saved gaming from people just looking at it like a kid hobby, like, oh, if you play games, you just don't do anything in life or something like that. And people just was looking down on gamers. And then Mario came out, and then all of a sudden, everybody was a gamer now. Be like, oh, I love Mario, you know? So, you know, the way that Mario saved gaming is really underrated, I think, at certain points in time, because people forget, especially nowadays with Fortnite and things of that nature. A lot of games are going crazy into the mainstream. So, a lot of the unique factors of Donkey Kong Bonanza is also, we already talked about the destructible environment, the co-op play. There's an underground gold rush theme with banana diem mine. I'm probably butchering that, but I'm trying my best. I ain't gonna cap to you. That banana diem is messing me up. So mining that as a gameplay / narrative driver, there's customization depth as far as outfits and fur unlocks tied to exploration. So, you know, you explore, you unlock certain things in the game. The standard price is, I think it's $65. Let me see. Kong Bonanza. I believe it's, it may be, I don't think it's $80. I think that was only for Mario Kart World, because they probably already, they probably didn't want to make any more people upset as far as raising the prices for no reason. So yeah, Donkey Kong Bonanza is $69, so technically $70. That's the regular price that's usually for the Nintendo platform. Mario Kart was like $80, and that made everybody and their mama upset. So I'm glad they're not keeping that a trend when it comes to flagship IPs for the consoles. So ultimately, the other thing I wanted to get into was people reviewing the game, because of course this is a sales and review roundup. So when it comes to that, people who have reviewed the game, as far as Tom's guy gave it a 4.5 out of 5, saying absolute joy, distinctive visuals, a few camera issues, but abundant collectibles. And then let me see, IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, saying a tremendous reinvention for DK. Metacritic is sitting at a 91 out of 100. And that's like a conglomerate. So, of course, you know, a lot of people have input when it comes to that. Screen Rant gave it a 4.5 out of 5, saying, quote, old school charm with true freedom. And then you have, let's see, there was another one I was wanting to say. Was it COD? No, it was COG. It was one of them. Oh, Dextero, that's the one. Dextero gave it a 4 out of 5, saying, blast from start to finish, collectathon, fun, minor frame rate hiccups in docked mode. Now, of course, I've heard that the developers literally came out, which, you know, to be fair, when I first saw this, I was thinking to myself, hold up, did a developing studio just come out and say that their exclusive hardware is maybe not up to snuff for their game?
Shepard, just look at the state of gaming. Like, what is going on?
Sometimes I look at, you know, certain PR teams, and I just look at their social media posts, and I'm just thinking to myself,
just look at the state of gaming. Like, what is going on?
Like, what is going on when companies are outwardly saying that the hardware that we can only put this game on, the exclusive hardware that we have to use for this game, may not be compatible enough to run this game effectively? Like, what in the world? Who says that? You know what I mean? It's like if Astrobot developers came out, it was like, you know what? I'm not gonna lie to y'all, that PlayStation 5, PS5 Pro, like, it's really, it's struggling. It's struggling to run our game, man. We tried our best. You know what I'm saying? They like, held up. We tried our best. You know what I'm saying? If our developing powers can't get over the unoptimized console, then I'm sorry. But, like, who says that? So as far as Nintendo EPD to come out to say that, because actually, let me see if I can find that, because y'all going to think I'm making that up, because that sounds so blasphemous, right? Why would somebody who only has one console come out and kind of trash the console? Let me see. Donkey Kong Switch 2. I can't put problems because I don't know if that'll pop up, because I think they were saying, let's see. I guess I will get into Pauline at some point. Should I say problems? Frame rate? I don't know. Problems. I'm trying to see if I can't pull this up, then I'm just gonna leave it alone. But let me see. Made possible on Switch 1. Okay, so the developers came out They said they couldn't include all the ideas they wanted because of memory usage. All the baseline features, including the transformations and Pauline, were fully programmed as far back as 2021. So basically, they were saying with the move to Switch 2, so they're talking about Switch 1, right? So the Switch 1 wasn't up to snuff, which is still crazy to say about an exclusive platform. They came out and said with the move to Switch 2, we gained not only more memory, but also greater processing capacity that gave us the freedom to incorporate gameplay ideas we previously abandoned because they were too demanding. When we got down to trying it, we discovered that not only could it handle the heavy processing requirements, but it also ran at 60 frames per second. Things we'd given up on, like explosives, so they was really just trashing the Switch 1. So yeah, I stand corrected with that one. It was just trashing the Switch 1. See, this is why, you know what I mean? The main thing I be trying to, I don't try to get fake news. So if I pull up a quote, that's the main reason. I don't want to make it. So this is the quote from them. I know it's just text in a white background, but you just got to believe me. This is from Nintendo. So let me see if I can find this right quick. Let me see so y'all can read this. Okay. Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio. So right here, they say they moved to Switch 2. And then basically, right here, it talks about it handling the processing requirements. So they moved to Switch 2, and then they said it could handle the processing requirements. So that's interesting. They said they was having issues on the Switch 1, but ultimately the Switch 2 is still a phenomenal platform for it to run on. But of course, a lot of people are coming out saying, oh, hold on, pull myself back. A lot of people are saying that Donkey Kong Bonanza is having some performance issues, such as frame rate drops on the Switch 2, but the director says that they're aware of the performance issues, and they can dip during certain sequences. However, the game is smooth overall. That's like me going to a restaurant being like, hold up, some of my food is cold right now. You know what I mean? The fries came out, the chicken nuggets came out, you know what I'm saying? My burger came out, but half of my fries is kind of cold. And then the chef looking at your food and looking back at you and being like, well, what about the rest of the meal? Like, hold up now. Like, you guys, see, that's the problem. Nah, see, that's the problem right there. Kazuya Takashi came out and said that they're aware of performance dipping during certain sequences. However, the game is smooth overall. Yeah, sometimes I be thinking, like, what goes through their mind when they say stuff like that? Like, they think like that's okay. It's like if you're a reviewer, if you're a game reviewer, you could say stuff like, oh, this was a minor nitpick of mine, but overall the game was fine. If you're a developer of the game that can actually fix it, that has the code to fix it, and you're like, the rest of the game is fine. It's like, what? Y'all the most profitable gaming company in the world, and y'all talking to y'all players like that, which, it's whatever. I guess, at some point, I guess that's why they're the most profitable, which if you don't know, Nintendo has 109 billion as far as July 2025. And that's far ahead of any other company. The closest when it comes to gaming companies, not like companies in general, but that's probably up there too as far as companies in general. But as far as gaming, they are by far and away number one. Roblox is the second closest with 76 billion. But Nintendo by far and away is the most profitable gaming company in the world. So, yeah, man, them coming out and saying this is I guess they just like, hey, deal with it, man. Overall, is the game is fine. And people are going to deal with it because, like I've, even on social media, people have been commenting on the clip I put out as far as me talking about how the drop the price movement is the worst movement in gaming history. People said we're not going to support Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World is out there almost selling as much as the Nintendo Switch 2. There's 3.5 million Nintendo Switches out in the world currently. Mario Kart World has 3 million sales.
Shepard, just look at the state of gaming. Like, what is going on?
Sometimes I think to myself, what is going on when they have a whole movement titled Drop the Price and Nintendo Switch 2 right after that becomes the best-selling console of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is some interesting work. I ain't gonna cap to you. So that's the review roundup. Those are the sale roundups. When it comes to the game, I do think the destructible aspect is its main claim to fame, as he's always been a strong character. He's always been that's how he's been depicted, and even the Mario universe. So now when you're looking at Donkey Kong acting like this, breaking everything in his path, having totally destructible environments, and it actually running on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is another thing, because a lot of games that were third parties of Nintendo Switch 2 had a lot to say about its performance issues, to the point where I think we're going to run into the same situation as that the Nintendo Switch ran into, as far as certain games not being able to be on the Switch platform because the hardware is just not optimized enough. Because every single time a game developer will get asked, "Oh, is your game coming to Nintendo Switch?" and they look dead in the camera. They'd be like, "We have no plans for our game coming to Nintendo Switch." Or they'll say, "Oh, we don't have any plans on porting our game to the Nintendo Switch." Like they say it in the nicest way possible. And then time and time again, every developer's out here saying the same thing. So it's not a good look as far as Nintendo. Some would say, why not just make a whole flagship console like as powerful as the PS5 and the Xbox? Because obviously they have the money, right? But when it comes to Nintendo, I think the graphics model that they go with is to literally recoup off of the consoles. Because if you don't know, when it comes to the PlayStation 5, even though it's selling like 5-1 now, it used to be 4-1, but now it's selling 5-1. As far as one, for every Xbox Series X or S sold, there's 5 PS5 sold, as far as the race, right? So they've lapped Xbox and then some, which is why some people argue Xbox is going the console-less route. But ultimately, the high graphics, such as Cyberpunk, such as some other games, A Last of Us, such as God of War, Spider-Man, takes a lot of money to develop those type of games, and it makes it hard to recoup off of that. Let alone PlayStation and Microsoft don't even try to recoup off the consoles, and I think that's one of the reasons. So Nintendo notoriously always recoups off of the consoles that's sold, simply due to the fact that their games are lower budget as far as to make. Now, still a lot of money, of course, but as far as a graphically intensive process, it's not as intense as a God of War, as a Last of Us, so that it makes it easier to obtain that ROI. So hopefully it makes sense. But when it comes to Donkey Kong Bonanza, that is my sales and review roundup. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Donkey Kong Bonanza? What do you think about it being compared to Super Mario Odyssey? And in the year of 2025, do you believe that this may end up being Game of the Year?